Gary is trying to stand up in his new home. He cannot. The ceiling is 5 feet high, and Venice built it that way on purpose. The man sharing the cell is over 6 feet tall. He has been folded in half since July. He is covered in flea bites, and he introduces himself as Giacomo Casanova, the most famous lover in Europe. He says he will not be staying long. Gary has heard that one before. This is the Piombi, the attic prison of the Doge's palace in Venice in the year 1755. It sits directly under a roof of lead plates, which is also its name. The leads. In summer, the cells cook. In winter, they freeze. Venice stored its most inconvenient people under the roofing material. And this summer, nobody in Venice is more inconvenient than Gary's cellmate. Day 1. 40 policemen. That is how many the state sent to arrest one unarmed writer, violinist, and professional charming person. Casanova asked what the charge was. The officers didn't say. The file, as it happens, was long. Blasphemy, gambling fraud, Freemasonry, impiety, and practicing magic. The official record, to this day, compresses all of it into 4 words: a question of religion. The tribunal sentenced him to 5 years, wrote it down, filed it, and told no one, not the jailer, not the prisoner. For his entire imprisonment, Casanova will not know whether it ends next month or never. Gary, meanwhile, is here on business. The state offered him a deal. Share the cell and report everything. Gary is what Venice calls a confidant, and what everyone else calls a spy. He is not good at it. He should not feel bad. 19 years from now, a pardoned Casanova will be informing for this exact tribunal, for money. In this story, everyone is somebody's spy. The routine. 1 visit a day from Lorenzo the jailer, who brings food and takes complaints, in that order, and only 1 of them seriously. The rats, by the tenant's count, are the size of rabbits. Day 99. November 1st, 1755. The floor moves. 2,000 kilometers away, an earthquake is leveling Lisbon, and it is strong enough to sway a palace in Venice. The prison panics. Casanova, by his own account, braces against the wall and cheers the building on. A slightly bigger shake, he reasons, would crack it open. The building holds. Casanova is not discouraged. He keeps a running account with luck, and he is certain the balance is in his favor. Remember the date. Gary writes all of this down for his report. Then winter comes through the lead, and Gary burns the report for warmth. Day 275. 9 months in, Casanova finally earns exercise time in the attic, and comes back with an iron bolt he grinds into a spike. Under his bed, over Gary's objections, he digs through the floor for months. By August 1756, the hole needs 1 more night. That is when the good news arrives. Casanova's rich patron, Senator Bergadin, has been pulling strings, and the strings finally work. As a special favor, the prisoner is granted a transfer to a bigger, brighter cell with a view of the lagoon. The guards come to move his furniture. They lift the bed. The greatest escape in Venetian history dies of kindness. Lorenzo the jailer turns white. Casanova points out, calmly, that a hole that size took months of freedom to dig, and reporting it means explaining to the Inquisition what Lorenzo was doing all that time. Lorenzo reports nothing. The cover-up is mutual, instant, and extremely Venetian. New cell, new problem. Casanova is now watched too closely to dig. But across the corridor sits Marino Balbi, a disgraced monk with a ceiling nobody watches. Messages start moving between the 2 cells, hidden in the spines of borrowed books. Then the spike itself makes the trip. By Casanova's account, it crosses the prison inside a folio Bible, and the Bible travels under a heaping plate of pasta, carried by the jailer himself, who keeps the dish level to protect the sauce. History's most important pasta delivery arrives unexamined. Night after night, Balbi digs upward through his ceiling and hides the hole behind a painting of a saint. Nobody checks behind the saint. 1 question remains. When? Casanova does not pick the date himself. The man arrested for practicing magic runs his number system on the poem on his cell table, Ariosto's Orlando Furioso, and it answers with a line of verse. Between the end of October and the start of November. The same magic that helped put him in prison has now scheduled the jailbreak. He takes the appointment. Day 464. October 31st, 1756. All Saints' Eve. There was a reception in the palace last night. The staff have gone home for the holiday, and the corridors are empty. Gary is composing his monthly report of nothing when the ceiling opens and a monk climbs out of it. Gary decides this is a dream, files it as one, and goes to sleep. The two men peel back a lead plate and step onto the roof of the Doge's palace. The lead is slick with lagoon fog. Casanova slips, slides to the gutter, and stops just short of the canal. Somewhere across the water, midnight rings in the 1st of November. Right on schedule. They drop through a skylight back into the building and wait for sunrise inside the locked offices of the Inquisition itself. At dawn, a watchman unlocks the palace and finds two men waiting at the door, a priest and a tall stranger in 15 months of prison wear, glaring as if the locked door were a personal insult. Casanova does not explain himself. He complains. The watchman looks at the furious gentleman, looks at the man of God beside him, and reaches the only safe conclusion. Somebody important got stuck inside after last night's reception. He apologizes. He opens the door. One last stroke of luck. It is All Saints' morning, and the square is filling with holiday crowds. Nobody looks twice at a priest, and Father Balby's clothes are the best passport in Venice on this particular day. At the gondolas, Casanova announces a false destination loudly for the bystanders and gives the gondolier the real one once they are away. The most wanted man in the Republic exits his own manhunt in the wrong direction. The oracle said between the end of October and the start of November. The earthquake was exactly 1 year ago today. Casanova's account with luck is settled in full. Gary wakes to an empty cell, a hole in the ceiling, and the realization that he slept through the one thing he was put in here to watch. The tribunal, for once, decides on a sentence quickly. Gary's. Casanova crosses Europe, and 30 years later, he publishes the whole story. It becomes a bestseller. He retells it at dinner parties for the rest of his life. The book does not mention Gary. Gary's troubles are not confined to 1 century. History is long, and Gary lives in all of it.